best to concede with this compromise?
William, John, you both know full well my thoughts on the matter. These people compose the vast majority of our workforce. Before we make any rash decisions here, we should listen to their demands first.
Demands?
Sir, please forgive my intrusion. I have some new information for you.
And who might you be, sir?
Private Black of the 93rd Sutherland Highlanders, my lord.
Let's hear it then, Black.
The crowd are growing fast, sir. They now fill the square outside, and their numbers are going back a long way.
Yes, we can see that from the window in private.
Granted, sir. But I doubt very much that you can feel them.
Feel them?
The rest of my regiment is some time away from Ruthven. The men with me here at present are made up of different ages and experience. Some have been involved in battles and skirmishes on foreign fields, but many have little experience of such numbers.
Is that it, Black? Have you come all the way up here to give us some sort of military report, emphasizing your incompetence, man?
Mr. Coffin, please.
No, sir.
What is it you have to say then, Private?
It's the mob, sir. They're getting very close to our lines. We're just waiting for the order to open fire, sir. If it's not given soon, there'll be little we can do to stop them from taking our muskets from us.
That can't be tolerated. They ignored the riot act. They even had the audacity to read it to them again, and in Welsh. The soldiers must be allowed the right to defend themselves, my lord.
Say what you really mean, Coffin. You were only concerned that they defend your lot, man.
I have further news, my lord.
Proceed, Private Black.
The people are choosing a delegation, sir. They wish to talk with you, so to avoid bloodshed.
A delegation?
Yes, sir.
I'm surprised they haven't been able to make such a decision.
I believe it is their hope to discuss terms.
They wish to talk terms, really? What sort of terms exactly?
I don't know, sir.
Well, they clearly feel themselves to be in a position of great strength. Would you agree, gentlemen? Perhaps it could well be the terms of our surrender they demand. Preposterous. We have nothing to surrender to them.
Very well said, Mr. Guest. That would be handing the authority over to them.
That would be all, Private Black. It would be foolish of us not to take heed of the soldier's words, gentlemen. Now, I fully understand the implications that giving the order to open fire on the mob might incur. And I have little doubt that if we do not handle this situation with a careful approach, then it could go horribly wrong for us all. At the very least, it would be wise of us to listen to the delegation before we make any decisions.
And all the while negotiating with these plebeians, my home is getting ransacked. They've already made off with the chest to go to the court, my lord.
You would do well to remember your station in this room, Mr. Coffin.
Aye, sir. But I assure you, Mr. Butts, the only language these troglodytes understand is that of brute force. I have witnessed firsthand the unruly behaviour by which they live by. Lewis, the huntsman, will be their spokesman. You mark my words. That man is nothing but a barbaric bug.
Their numbers are too many now. Even with the special constable sworn in and the rest of the Highlanders en route, we would do well to hear them out. It will appease their unrest. If not, I fear blood will be spilled in Merthyr today, gentlemen.
Yes, if you're not very careful, Sheriff, the blood may well be ours.
I have journeyed for this meeting under considerable duress, gentlemen, and I will be damned if I sit here and allow a meagre clerk to the Court of Requests dictate to us which course of action we must take.
Granted, Joseph, now calm yourself. You really are a snivelling little toad of a man, aren't you, Coffin? Now be quiet, will you?
Good Crosby, I warn you, sir. I know that rabble out there. Bite the hand that feeds you. They as soon as cut your throat as look at you. They must be controlled. They must be put in their place. I have been subject to several attacks made upon me by these These animals!
These animals you refer to, Mr. Coffin, they are desperate men. Many have lost their jobs, and those still in employment have suffered reductions to their wages. They have no security, gentlemen, and they worry about how they'll be able to feed their families.
The depression in the iron industry has hit us all, gentlemen, not the least William and I. We've been forced to tighten the company's purse strings, to let men go, good men, God-fearing men, hard workers.
God-fearing men, sir? Is that why these men are rioting in the streets? No. These aren't God-fearing men, sir. These are heathens, dogs, scum! There's such a food shortage out there. They're using it as ammunition against us now. Oh look, these are when they were red and they're on a pitchfork now.
It seems the symbolism has lost on you, Mr. Coffin.
We must begin making arrests, Sheriff, before it is too late.
A well-paid worker is a happy one. But in the current climate, we simply can't afford to operate at a full tilt. None of us here is in a position whereby we can afford to carry on like that. With the marketplace as it is, it would be financial suicide.
And that's exactly why these negotiations are pointless. Brute force is the only way we can get our point across to them.
Although it pains me to admit it, our friend Mr. Coffin here does make a valid point.
I thank you, Lord Cross.
Although I do not see you faring too badly from the status quo, especially of late when more and more men are falling into debt. I have little doubt you're taking every opportunity to benefit yourself.
Business has been brisk, I will grant you that, my lord. But there has been an upturn in violence against my collectors. The townsfolk are stopping my bailiffs from completing their duties.
Well, if you will insist on kicking people when they are down, Coffin, how can you grumble when they fight back?
These negotiations are preposterous. They are incapable of sensible discussion.
Yes, which may indeed favour us. All us men here are learned scholars and experienced negotiators. If we were to invite them in under the pretense of a negotiation, it could well buy us valuable time before the Highland Guard would arrive.
Very clever. Very clever, Lord Crosby. However, we must not pander to them. Remember, these ruffians attacked my bailiffs. I say, lure them in. And when the guard gets here, we open fire on the bloody lot.
Mr. Coffin, I will not risk a riot on the streets of Merthyr today, and certainly not to appease your grudge.
Lord Crosby has spoken. Invite in the delegation. Starve them, if you will. And then send each and every one of them back under the rock from which they crawled in the first place.
That's quite enough, Mr. Coffin. Send word to Private Black. Tell him to escort in this delegation.
Yes, my lord.
Stall by all means, Lord Crawshay, but I urge you, we must avoid using force at all costs.
You're almost sounding sympathetic, Sheriff. You do realise whose side you're on.
I am simply looking at this from a pragmatic viewpoint, Mr. Guest. If I may, Lord Crawshay, we are doing these people a disservice here. The very fact that they are quite literally starving and yet have not touched that loaf behind which they march might suggest a rather more disciplined body of people than we first credited them.
Nonsense! This is nothing more than a rowdy mob displaying their dissatisfaction at circumstances that are quite simply beyond their control. Hear me now. Authority is what is required. My men recognise it. That's why you won't find many of my workers out there today. Balderdash.
There's as many of your men out there as there are of mine, William. In fact, I enjoyed total control until you laid off so many in one go.
Total control through your truck shops, John. My men have never had to endure such slavery. Men want to work for me. Why, only yesterday I had several turn up from command seeking employment.
And did you offer them any, William?
No, of course not. I couldn't. But I always do my best to offset any slumps in production. No other master overproduces and stockpiles iron the way that I do.
Oh, please, don't tell me you're doing it out of the goodness of your own heart.
And why not? I've always looked after my workers.
As long as they've looked after you first.
I think you'll find the arrangement has suited both parties rather well.
Until now, it would seem.
You know what you've been doing over all these years, William Crochet.
And you haven't.
Oh, I know what I've been doing. I've just not been able to do it quite as well as you.
And what exactly do you mean by that?
It's quite simple, William. My works hasn't got the same financial backing as yours. All those friends you have up in London, the extra money you get from them, you're able to keep on producing iron and steel when you can't even sell it.
Quite right, John. I have many dear friends up in London. Must I apologise for that?
And then selling off all that iron for next to nothing when the demand increases.
Oh, come, John. Leave the theatrics to Mrs. Guest. We are men of business, you and I. And I think you'll find as a business model, mine works rather well.
Till now, it would seem. What about the other works? Mine own included.
Well, just like those outside, everyone should know their place.
Why, you?
Look, there's a man addressing them from the gas light, sir. He seems to be getting the crowd rather excited, my lord.
And who exactly is this instigator?
I believe he's the one they call the huntsman. Lewis.
The huntsman, you say? I shall have to ask my gamekeeper. Without the man's a poacher.
Gentlemen, I do believe we would do well by listening to the men first.
Joseph, I have been in this game a fair sight longer than your good self, sir. It will all circulate around wages and working conditions. Heard it all 1,000 times before.
The people are starving, William.
Well, fine then. Send for the fastest riders in the regiment. If it's bread that they want, I can load them with sacks of loaves and they can chase the Highlanders out of the town until they get their grubby little hands in it.
Stop being so ridiculous, William.
It's no more ridiculous than a gang of our own workforce attempting to force our hand in this way. We cannot be dictated to by mob rule, Joseph.
You are quite right, Lord Crawshay, but this does not help our predicament. Gentlemen, they have been read the riot act. The hour is nearly up, and very soon they will have to make way by order of His Majesty the King.
And if they don't, Sheriff?
And that is when the Highlanders earn their money, Mr. Price. Bloodshed could well be inevitable in Merthyr today, my lord.
It will be no more than they deserve, Sheriff.
No one deserves to die here today,
They will
Mr.
brought it
Crawford.
upon themselves. Order must be restored to the town, my lord.
Order shall be restored to the town, in one way or the other. These men recognize that. They're working men. Men who instinctively know their station, and this is not their natural position in life. Nobody knows that more than they do. All this damn talk of reform, putting false hope into their simple minds, giving these people the idea that they should have their own representatives in Parliament.
You think that is a bad thing, William?
And look what it's stirring up amongst them, Joseph. They're feeling more and more as though they're entitled to have a say in proceedings. Proceedings that they simply cannot comprehend. I mean, where will it all end? Common man, he who comes home from work covered in dirt, will be expected to be granted the vote next. I trust you'll help push this bill when the time comes, John.
Truth be told, William, I think it is about time that Merthyr was granted a seat.
Of course. And no doubt you will be contesting it.
Maybe, possibly, but for me the bigger problem is all this talk of damned unions. It's corrupting the workforce, I tell you.
Oh, John, don't be so hasty. Do you really think I would support such an idea if it were not beneficial to my works? I, for one, would much prefer to deal with one or two of their chosen representatives than the hordes we see outside. And preferably deal with them in the dining room with Cavartha with a full roast and as much wine as it takes.
As much wine as it takes for what?
John, wine relaxes the muscles in the brain. These two are much more of an agreeable outcome. You see, it's my firm belief that given the right man to deal with, working relations can be conducted very smoothly indeed. Yes, I do believe in years to come, becoming a union representative will be a much sought after position. Dr. Price, I'm not expected to see you here today.
My purpose here today, your lordship, is to act as mediator. After all, you do pay me to look after your workers in both body and in mind, sir.
Very well, very well. You must be the huntsman, I presume.
My name is Lucian O'Hellier, sir.
Quite a rabble you've stirred up out there, Lewis.
I can well argue that you gentlemen started this rousing.
And I suppose these secret meetings you've been holding with the workers have played no part either?
Hardly that secret if you knew of them, Mr. Coffin.
I'm a very well connected man, Mr. Price. I know everything that goes on in this town. I know who lurks in shadowy corners, inciting ideas, rebellion, insurrection.
Lewis, it's not that we are unsympathetic to the plight of our workers. We understand that you are worried about their livelihoods. But the harsh reality is this. We have all made sacrifices these past few years. If we hadn't, then the entire workforce would be out of commission. The town of Merthyr Tydfil would become obsolete overnight. We've been forced to sacrifice the few for the good of the many.
And still it is not good enough for them.
Come, huntsman, sit.
I prefer to stand, sir.
Ah, you are a troublesome one, aren't you, huntsman?
I mean, you know trouble, Mr. Crochet. I'm only coming here today for what is right.
What is right? Are you to instruct me on what is right? Right for my work, what's for my business?
No, sir, I am.
What if I were to refuse you?
Then I can no longer hold the men back, sir.
Are you threatening me, huntsman?
No, sir.
Rest assured, Lewis. Should your men raise their pitchforks in anger, their challenge will be met with musket fire. Men will die out there today, make no mistake.
It doesn't have to come to this, Lewis.
There have been riots in other towns. Mark what's happened up in the north.
This man has no respect for order and authority. He still owes me the sum of £2.
Mr. Coffin, it may be true that I owe Evan Davis the grocer the sum of £2, and this debt has been passed on unjustly, my add, gentlemen, to the Court of Requests. But I do not owe you a penny, sir.
To all intents and purposes. And as far as you are concerned, Lewis, I am the Court of Requests.
Then I suppose, therefore, the profits of the court are your profits, sir.
How dare you, peasant!
We seek accord here. Lewis, the sheriff is not wrong in stating the force the guards will use. But that really is a last resort. If we can negotiate a solution that results in peace, we will endeavour to provide it for you.
Then you wish to hear our demands?
Your demands?
We've written down a list of requests to put before you, gentlemen.
I doubt very much you'll be able to read it, my lord.
I have penned that list, Mr. Coffin, and I think even you will find it perfectly legible, sir.
You must not pander to them, my lord.
Be quiet, man.
Fear not, Coffin, your place still stands. The people just want backwards right through theirs.
There's only so long we can keep them out coughing.
Do you hear that, Sheriff?
Do stop bleating, Coffin. I can see that the huntsman is a reasonable fellow. Now then, gentlemen, let's see. I'm afraid that the operation of the Court of Requests is settled in the framework of the town's authority. Goods taken in compensation from shopkeepers incur a debt, and that debt incurs the wrath of the lender. If the lender were to go bankrupt, then where would the people have to turn to in time of need?
If I may be so bold, your lordship, you make it seem unsound as if it is some kind of charity, sir.
It seems that boldness is a quality of yours of which I am already well acquainted with, sir. That said, I fear you have misunderstood me. I had not meant to imply that it was anything other than a business nonetheless, that helps keep families afloat and the town's commerce functioning. You'd also do well to recall your capacity as a paid employee of my estate, sir.
Indeed, your lordship.
I'll hear no more of it. I'm perfectly well aware of that your loyalties, eccentric though they may seem, are to the well-being of my workforce. Now, there are those out there who see what is happening here today as a terrible episode in the history of Merthyr. But not me, gentlemen. For amongst all this uproar, I see a great relationship starting here, an understanding between us being forged. Wouldn't you agree, Hunter?
It remains to be seen, Crochet. You see, we believe that actions speak louder than words, sir.
Very good, very good. Now then, gentlemen. Wages and safer conditions. What exactly is it you propose that we should do about it?
Well, the workers need an increase in their wages. And safer working conditions must be adopted in the mines. After that, perhaps we can discuss the extortionate rents we're forced to pay. And if you can't do away with court inquests, at the very least, police the place with tighter restrictions. Getting rid of Mr. Coffin would be a good start.
How dare you, peasant!
Increased wages, you say? I fear you may be under the impression that iron is in high demand.
I can see that you're still making plenty of money, gentlemen.
Not as much as we'd like to.
With every respect, Mr. Guest, is it ever as much as your lot would like it to be?
Talk to me again that way and I'll have you whipped, sir.
John, calm yourself down. Mr. Guest is quite right, though, Hunter. The iron industry is in recession, man. We simply haven't got the resources to discard at this time.
If I may, once again, your lordship, you make it sound as a discard is to be considered. These men are only asking for an honest day's pay for a hard day's work, your lordship.
I only meant to refer to the fact that budgets must be...
Your family have amassed enough of the backs of our labour over the years, Crochet. Now, I warn you, sir. There are literally thousands of us outside here today. You're going to have to concede a lot better than this.
You warn us. Get out of here, man.
Just put you all in the picture, gentlemen. If there is any bloodshed spilt in Merthyr today, on your hands and stain.
Calm, Huntsman. You've been chosen by the people of Merthyr to speak for them today. They deserve better than this. We don't want any harm to come to anyone. Now, you see why you're chosen. You are a fine, upstanding man, a man of clear intellect and honour. You're here to represent your community. If I were one of those out there, I'd be more than happy for you to speak for me here today.
Enough of your empty flattery, Crochet. I've not come here today to play games.
My. You have quite a tongue on you, haven't you, Hanson? What say you if I were to allow some of the paddlers to return to work? We could phase it in over the coming weeks. You could tell your mob that I conceded it is my will. With me, the master, having made a monumental concession to your valiant lobbying. It is a reservation. Thereafter, we can meet again with your delegation in, say, 2 weeks from now.
A return to work?